welcome to this week's content. My name is Divina. I just want to be a living art piece. Video will be kind of like an art lesson plus art techniques tutorial. I'm in a gray t-shirt because I don't want any of this art dripping on me. But if I take off this shirt and change into something more appropriate, it's gonna probably brush up against my neck and my art on my face, and you never win. I change into a halter. For me, when you do painterly abstract avant-garde look, you pretty much abandon the rules of makeup and you do the exact opposite. So I find painterly look very freeing in a way. One of my favorite products for doing painterly looks are always cream contour palettes. And if you know, this is very, very old. I'm pretty sure it's expired. It smells totally fine. So it's expired when I say it's expired. And I use this exactly as it's intended, but in a more artistic way. And the darks will go where the shadows go, the lights will go where the lights go. For the base, it's easier if you work with cream products. They probably don't have this anymore, but I know that you can just grab one from the drugstore. But I will find alternatives and I will put it in the description. I also have some liquid liners here. And if you follow me on Instagram or on YouTube, I have mentioned this palette many a times. It is one of my favorites. It just has all the colors of the rainbow. When you're shopping for a colorful palette, make sure that it has stark white and also a black and a gray, because you can then mix these colors to make it a tint or make it a shade, a shadow. So Makeup Forever, this is translucent powder and this gigantic puffer, and we are doing the exact opposite, mixing and matching of makeup. So I'm going to use this as the first thing I put on my face. I'm going to take a palette, dump a bunch of powder on there, and this is going to take away any shine. I want this to be a very matte look. Saturate the hell out of this, stamp this all over. So this at first is going to smooth everything, but it's also going to make my face really matte. Type of makeup look is freedom to do anything and everything. So this is going to smooth out my face a little, yes, because this powder is amazing for doing that, but once it mixes in with other products, it's going to make everything stand out. So for the base, with your fingies, dip into it, all my fingers, and then just swipe onto my face. Again, I want the textures to show through. I feel like this gives the painterly look life. So you want to lightly just swatch on your face, load it up again the other side, and it could be completely like whatever random shapes. It doesn't have to be symmetrical at all. Actually, it should not be symmetrical. You're doing really abstract. And when you refer to oil paintings, usually you'll think like, oh my god, it's going to be so hard to paint like a portrait, but you are the portrait already. You already have this base. You're just going to add and layer on top of it. And it doesn't matter if you think you made a mistake, because this is cream, you can literally just wipe it off with a tissue and then do the stroke again. You're going to add more on top of it. I think that fingers just give the most natural, organic look. So you can see all that texture just coming out. And then just like how you would do with contouring, light shade, the lightest shade of the palette, and then add it to wherever you usually normally highlight. It's just like makeup and lighting and colors, except you are really exaggerating the product and the textures. So do not be afraid of generously applying this and layering it up. Some of this will be blended, some of these will be super rough. Just really have fun with it. So how I got into this really painterly style of makeup and how I just honestly fell in love with it was from Kelsey Anna Fitzpatrick. She is this amazing, moody, hauntingly beautiful avant-garde artist. And she's not active on Instagram anymore, I don't think. And I don't know if she's still active as a working makeup artist for editorials, but it doesn't matter. She's still one of my all-time favorites. And she got inspired from this oil painter named Henrik. I also love, again, avant-garde, hauntingly beautiful. So that inspo journey started from Henrik to Kelsey to me, and probably so many other artists out there. And I wanted to mention that because I know when we're starting as an artist, you can feel really intimidated and think like, oh, I'm not an artist. I can only copy from people and get inspired by other works, but I'm not original. But nobody is completely original. When you're drawing a sky, you reference the sky. When you're drawing an ocean, when you're painting the ocean, you're referencing the ocean. The ocean is the inspiration. Even when you're doing really abstract paintings, it references so much of what your mind has seen, heard. So please do not think that you are not a good artist. I just wanted to say that because it's actually very encouraged and taught in art history classes and art classes all around the world that you're supposed to reference. You absolutely do not need to invent a new color, you know? It's just what you do with all those inspirations combined that creates innovation of your own. A lot of like mistakes I've made while doing makeup turn into either a lesson, or my favorite, a lot of it can actually turn into a technique. You will discover a lot of things while you are creating because your approach is just going to be different. It's really just a lovely time. I mean, you will struggle. You'll probably feel like you're going to be insane. but that's a part of being an artist. So you can just keep layering if you want to. Again, if you feel like you did too much or did too little, you can take away or add more. Of course, I want mega contour on my nose. And one of the most beautiful lessons, and I really highly recommend you watch his videos. Oh my god. So what the fuck was I saying? Yeah, so the most beautiful lessons I learned from layering is actually from this art historian. He works at MoMA. How elite, how prestigious. He has these series of videos that explains how an artist came to be, a little bit about their history. One in particular really like captured my soul. So his name is Corey. He is the art historian, and he goes through this process of showing you how these artists created their paintings, because sometimes obviously we want to learn how the F did they apply this technique, blah, blah, blah. Artist named Franz Klein that Corey was demoing on this canvas, and he goes on to explain that Franz Klein, I believe it was like a projector, and then he would project a really large, either it was an image or an actual object. I believe it was like a couch or something, and he would zoom in so much that it obstructs whatever the object actually was, and he would focus lines the couch was making, and then he would go in with house paint, and it was mostly just black and white house paint, and he would layer on, like really layer and slap onto the canvas, black over white, white over black, drying times in between, and that really created the textures, the movement of the strokes, and the layers. They were really broad, they were messy, and I got really inspired by that because I was an amateur. I didn't know what layering could mean, whatever. So you can hear a lot. I think it's from that video how layering is so incredibly important, whether if you're trying to do like perfect everyday makeup to very normal makeup like this. So yeah, when I started, I had very untrained eyes. When you're an artist, you just learn to observe, and that is one of the core things that you can do as an artist. A really great trait to have, and you will build that over time. And that's why when people say, oh, I could do that, disrespectfully, you didn't. And without Corey explaining the process the way that he explained it, I probably would be just blank up here, even blank her. And I actually saw Franz Klein work in person in LA. It's just different, you know, when you like see it in person, because it's really hard for videos, let alone photos, to capture like an essence of something. Am I being too pretentious, too passionate? Perhaps. Holy hell, do you see? I'm gonna try to control that a little bit. I really don't want to use so much because I washed my hair yesterday, and I don't like washing my hair every day. I feel like it produces more oils. I don't know whether it's better to use a wax stick or hairspray and a comb to like flatten it, but I don't want the fumes in this tiny studio and this breakage. I love hot showers, and this is why I get breakage, because I scathing hot. I add this to my neck too. And again, I do not care about like how the strokes are going, because we're going to go over it with layers. It's going to cover some, then we're going to bring back some, then it's going to be just truly messy, really fun. And this is like normally where the light hits, and this is usually where it like starts to contour. But yeah, it brings out the wrinkles on my neck, the texture. Very human. Chunos. Because these are cream products, and if you're in a generally hot room, like for me, I have a lot of lighting around me, you can get really warm, and when that happens, the cream makeup is going to start melting and then blending into the skin, and it's going to become really gunky. It's going to take away all the textures. We don't want that. So I have my fan turned off. How I'm going to try to control once again, our Lord and Savior, Make It Forever translucent powder. I'm going to layer this on top of it. Dries out my face again. It's just not going to let the art melt away. I don't know if this is going on my shirt, but if I forget, and you see it. No, you did not. And then again, taking that huge puffer, beating your face with it. No, don't beat with your face. Go very lightly. Ooh, go over the lips too. I actually want to dry out my lips. Gonna give more texture. And then once you layer on top, it's gonna bring back some of that texture and add probably more texture. And if you're using liquid product, cream products, and you're finding that it's not dry enough, all you have to do is scoop some of the product that you're trying to use on a palette or on the back of your hand, add a bit of the translucent powder, and that will make it more clumpy. It's going to create a certain thickness, and then you'll have yourself something more matte, more textured to create with. Pulling up this now, and y'all know how I love mapping, so I'm going to go into the colors and apply where the blush goes, where the eyeshadow goes, and then on top of that we're going to layer with even more product. I'm going to add some pink here, and don't blend. Do not blend. Okay, did I tap? Okay, an orange appeared. Doesn't matter, keep it there. And again, this doesn't have to be like permanent. If you do not like any of these colors or you want to switch it up, all you do is go back with your cream contour palette and you're like, you know what, I don't like this. cover it again. Or if the spot in particular, wipe it off and then go back again. And whatever you do here, it just benefits you because then it'll just create more textures and more layers. So be free, my fairy, be free. You can use different sizes of brushes, as small or big as you want. And you don't have to go exactly as the reference. If you feel like I want to add something different, do that. Do that. I chose this one because I just love colors that this artist uses. And this is one of the reasons why I love doing painterly looks, because you can just mess up as many times. It's encouraged. You can show your textures, your lines, and all of it is beautiful. But whichever portrait you reference, in my case, I saw very blunt, squared off strokes in my reference portrait, so I used blunt, square brushes. So yours might be different depending on which portrait you chose, but honestly, any brush that you have will do. If you think that some colors are too light or too dark, like I feel like this blue might irk me, I'm gonna add some white to make it light blue. Now let's go in with some orange, tad bit too dark. I'm gonna add white. Ta-da! I am really packing the pigment onto the brush, packing it in there. On the brush, I mean, you don't have to like stab your eye or anything. You can add that white at the highlight points. For whites, I'm always just super generous with. I always feel like it gives such a beautiful contrast. Put some blue here, white. Then at one point, you don't know which brush is for what. You might get a tad bit muddy, but you can always again go back with the cream contour and then cover it or wipe it. You know what I love about my forehead, like literal forehead, is that there's so much space for activities. So normally I'm like, damn, you're so big. But in these artistic look, it's like, damn, you're so big. I can apply many of colors, many of textures. And if you're confused, like what colors work, just grab a new brush. It's gonna be a lot of work to wash these, but I love the look of a messy makeup table, art table anyways. Use your artistic eye. I know you have it. And then just add whatever, whenever, however. One of my favorite things to happen is that sometimes I'll be doing these makeup looks and nobody's home to answer the door. And when I open the door, I'm like, hey, at least let me finish so I look kind of like artistic and not crazy. But you know what? No, again, I'm not gonna apologize. I am crazy. And that is so diva. You can go back with your cream contour. And you're going to do layer on top of layer. You see? Y'all. So one of the things I like doing a bunch on your finger and then just stamping it on. That creates a nice texture. Over here, some of that makeup clumped together. I'm gonna leave that. And over here, it's starting to have really harsh dehydration. I'm gonna leave that. Mistakes is what is intended. You're going to fail your way to success. Add some of that cream, the lightest shade to my lips too. All these cracks, leave it. I love it. Photo, it is a red lip. I'm not sure if I want to do that. On my regular days, I am a neutral matte girly. So I like really neutral nude lips. Now I want to add a bit of shadow. Bit of contourings. And yeah, I'm not really sure about the lips, but the beauty of this look is you can change and adjust as you go. As I went just now, I covered it. One of us almost forgot about the neck. What looks nice with orange is a blue, and what looks good with blue is a purple. I think I should take my necklace off. And then once again, you want to dig your fingers in there. And then you can like carry this down to your shoulders if you want to. But over here is your anatomy. Come on, collarbone. And then usually there's shadow here. So you can put some shadow here if you want to accentuate that. And then a lighter one over here to show the literal bone that's popping out. Those really hilarious Asian beauty standards. Chinese, we love the look of collarbones. So I don't have any much unless I go like this. Which, oh my god, good technique. If you can't see it like me, you pop it out. And then And then you add the light. And then go in with colors again. I don't know which brush is for what, and hopefully they won't muddy, but if they do, again, go in with the cream contour. Slather it on, and then start over. For the eyes, I left it looking a little bit too red, so let's work on the eyes a little bit. Orange, some yellow. As you can see, I'm kind of just using the same color palette, the same colors. If you want it to look more cohesive, it's also easier if you have a reference and a color palette in mind, so you don't go mad trying to choose what colors. But again, and I don't know how many times I've mentioned this, if you do end up like, I don't like those colors, just take the cream and just walk. Holy, that might have been too strong. If you feel like the pigments aren't pigmenting, shove a finger into the palette and then just slather that on. So when you're working with your fingers or your brushes and you're just experimenting with different pressures, swipes, you get something like this. Like that's a really nice texture. And when you discover one of those, like I get excited about these. I'm like, oh, I need that. It's too much for me. Like I don't like it at all. Then I'm just gonna slather that on and make some new textures. Third layer. Now I really love the color palette of this. This is a water activated liner, and a lot of these colors kind of correspond with the colors that I put on my face, so it's gonna be really nice. And then this will just go on top wherever your heart desires. So in the painting, it seems like the artist used a blunt brush, something like this. It's a literal art brush. You can also go to the dollar store and then find a brush like this, or if they don't, just take a pair of scissors and just cut it. And it doesn't matter if it's jagged, because those jagged, cheap brushes with dry bristles can create a lot of textures. And when we apply the brush, you can make those little strokes. You can also turn this whichever way, to create like lines. This one you can really trench it in and then press on your skin if you want like water effect. And then you can just let it drip down your cheek. So I'm gonna do that, spray on the brush, and then it'll start dripping. If you want it to stop dripping, like there's a certain area, you can take a corner or make like a corner with a tissue and then just stop it there. You can also use a tissue to make like abstract textures. You also move the brush around, and that is sticking out a lot. I'm going to use the same brush, but a even shorter and smaller version. And lightly create little strokes, super light purpley color. If you want more of those like really obvious textured brush strokes, then you want to take your brush, damp it really rough into your product. And you want to make sure that it's semi-dry. So those really obvious brush strokes, that is a dry brush, a dry stroke. And then once that's packed up and a little bit dry, you can roughly and lightly just drag that along the face. And then that's when you get these brush strokes. You can use this with a really large brush as well. Very satisfying. Even with something like this, kind of like a stipple texture. And then you can also just smush it into the product. Make sure that it's like dry, semi-dry, and then really lightly just drag it on your skin, and it creates a really nice brush stroke, a dry brush stroke. I know that right now this is like overtaking the entire look, but that's why you start building. Now I'm gonna take the same brush, but longer. And then now you'll start to see all these textures, layers come together. You can also use your hands anytime to blend it, to give it more texture. Let yourself be messy. This is like art therapy for me. You can also do some stippling as well. Sorry if not talking much. I'm like trying to focus and do a tutorial at the same time. Sometimes it gets kind of hard. That's why a lot of times I choose voiceovers. I really want to like talk. It's more, I'm trying to build that connection with you. For shadows, you can pack as much product or as little product as you'd like and go crazy with directions of blending, stamping, sweeping, dabbing. Turn the brush around, turn it horizontal, vertical, just whichever way. You can see this is a very messy look, almost like a kid with a paintbrush. I honestly just let myself do whatever. So this is obviously overtaking the entire look. You know what to do. layer on top of layer, paints on top of paints. Whichever portrait or reference that you choose, make sure the strokes are obvious so you can get an idea of where everything goes, which direction is kind of going. Use makeup brushes, clean paint brushes, wet them in water liners, pomades, creams, lipstick. If it says that it's not safe for your eyes, maybe keep that away from your eyes, especially if you have sensitive eyes. I'm going to use a Mehron brush, and then now we're going to go in with more detail work. Different sizes of brush will obviously give you different finishes. I like to put like a variety. I started off wanting to do portrait oil paintings, kind of just let myself go off track. So I don't know if it looks like oil paintings or if it just looks crazy, but it's out there. I already posted. I'm gonna take this as artistic and whimsical. And these brushes are easier to work with because if you want to use the same brush for different parts of your face, you just have to take a tissue, put it like this, and then you can clean it with water, because these are water activated. So I think for this look, it's very normal, or at least for me. I'll think that I'll make a choice on a color or the way that I painted on my face, and then I'll go over it with like the cream from the contour palette. You can really see that I put layer on top of layer on top of layer. The intention behind this video is to have fun with your makeup. I don't care how ugly you think it looks. It doesn't matter, just create. I did a little stamp here, but now my favorite part is to highlight the entire face. Use the white activated liner in this palette. This brush is from Glitz & Cosmetics, just another flat brush. Make some lines. And you can always go back and forth with different products. So right now I'm putting back the powder on my lips, then I'm going to do the dry brush technique, drag across. Layer it on again and again until you're kind of satisfied. We'll let it get a little bit too white here actually. Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth in this makeup look. Actually, in all my makeup looks. I always go back and forth, up, down, all around. I'm gonna use liquid lipstick. Another texture idea, you can use the handle, the tip of that brush, and then you can blend the colors together that way, so that it's not necessarily super blended, but it is kind of blending. That cream contour peeking through again. I feel like with this painterly look, I have to define my eyes just a bit. I'm going to use Smolder from MAC, because no matter what, I have to define my eyes up top too. Now Annabelle mascara. I love how tiny this wand is. You can get really into those lashes. I'm going to let this hit my skin if it decides to. Can make it clumpy as well. Into a mascara technique. Now you are a living painting.